A popular TikTok challenge results in thousands of stolen cars. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. This is lesson 580 of Plain English, so that means JR has uploaded the full and complete lesson to plainenglish.com/580. Coming up today, you can steal a car in 20 seconds using just a single piece of equipment. You just need one common household item, and you need to know which car to target. The good news for you, if you're a car thief, is that this is a viral sensation on TikTok and YouTube. It's easy to learn how to do it. This has police chiefs pleading for car makers to do something about the problem. In the second half of the lesson, you might be able to guess where this is going. We'll talk about the expression cut corners, and we have a quote of the week from a pop star who died last month. Let's dive in. Kia and Hyundai are two Korean car makers known for being a good value. Kia was founded in 1944 as a maker of steel tubes and bicycle parts. Hyundai started as a construction company in 1947. They started making cars in the late 1960s and early 1970s. By the 1980s, they were exporting cars around the world. In North America, the two brands gained a reputation for being economical. That's a polite way of saying cheap. American cars were big, top of the line. Japanese cars were small, fuel efficient, and reliable. German and Italian cars were luxurious, and Korean cars, Kia and Hyundai, were cheap. But cheap didn't mean bad. Consumers liked them. Television commercials advertised that you could get two Hyundais for the price of just one new domestic car. Or you could buy a new Hyundai for the price of a used American brand. Over the years, the two brands moved up market, improving their quality, but they still retained their value character. Making a car is a complex process of give and take, where the car makers decide where to spend their budget. Engineering, appearance, interiors, appointments, features, upgrades, technology, things like that. German car makers focus on design and performance. Volvo on safety. Subaru on four-wheel drive for the outdoors. Tesla on technology, and so on. Hyundai and Kia priced their vehicles low and focused their budget on things consumers could touch and feel. Interiors, for example. That meant cutting corners in other parts of the vehicle. And many Hyundai and Kia vehicles sold in the US did not include a basic piece of technology that's standard or required in almost all vehicles. Indeed, it's required in many countries. It's called an engine immobilizer. An engine immobilizer prevents a car from starting if its key is not close to the ignition. This is to prevent car theft, like in old movies where car thieves can just start a car without a key. But cars today have 2 chips that prevent that. 1 chip in the ignition, 1 chip in the key. If the ignition doesn't detect the key close by, then the car doesn't start. If your car has a push-button start, this is the technology at work. But even if your car requires a physical key to start, it probably still has the engine immobilizer. A lot of Hyundai and Kia cars sold in the US did not have this technology. And to make matters worse, the cars had a shocking vulnerability. If you take a panel off the steering column, you can force the car to start if you have just one piece of specialized equipment. That piece of equipment is a USB cable. That means for a couple of dollars, you can have all the equipment you need to steal certain Hyundai and Kia cars from model years 2011 to 2022. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is a medium-sized American city in the Midwest. Police in Milwaukee started noticing an increase in thefts of Kias and Hyundais around the beginning of the pandemic. Shortly thereafter, a video popped up on TikTok showing exactly how to steal a car in this way. All you have to do is break the window of a car, jump in through the window, rip off a plastic panel on the steering column, force a USB cable into a certain part, and turn the cable like you would a key. The whole thing can be done in 20 seconds if you have practice, which a lot of people do. It gets worse. The TikTok videos show people driving stolen Hyundai and Kia cars recklessly on sidewalks, crashing into highway dividers, hitting other cars, speeding, crossing dividing lines, all with passengers hanging out the windows. It inspired copycats, and now almost every big city in the United States is dealing with a rash of Kia and Hyundai thefts, and of Kia and Hyundai joyriding after. Some car owners have had their own cars stolen 2, even 3 times in just a year. One car thief in Chicago was just 11 years old. He was one of the most prolific car thieves in the whole region, says the local sheriff. Many cities are seeing an eye-popping increase in car thefts. Seattle says the number of Kia and Hyundai vehicle thefts increased over 400% from 2021 to 2022. In Minneapolis, they were up a staggering 836%. In some cities, Kias and Hyundais represent over half of all stolen vehicles. The brands combined have only about a 10% market share. In Milwaukee, where it all started, over 6,000 Hyundai and Kia cars were stolen in just 1 year. That's more than one for every 100 residents of the city. Coming up on Thursday, the fallout. This crime spree is not just about stolen cars, it has a much wider impact. An engine immobilizer has been mandatory in all cars sold in the European Union since 1998. 1998. So if you're in Europe and you drive a Hyundai or a Kia, you don't have to worry about this problem. Same with Canada and Australia. I also looked for news about these two brands in South Korea, in Mexico, and in a few other countries, and I didn't see any news about thefts there. So this appears to be a US problem. The one thing I was curious about, thieves use a USB cable in the steering column. So I wondered, why would Kia and Hyundai put a USB port in the steering column? They didn't. You don't plug the USB cable into a USB port, but the part that you rotate is the same shape and size as a USB port. So the thieves just jam the cable in there and turn it like a key. Yikes. Today's expression is cut corners. This means to do something in a way that saves you time, money, or effort. When you cut corners, you save time, effort, or money at the expense of quality. So for example, JR and I save time by producing 2 episodes at a time. I write 2 at a time. I record 2 at a time. JR edits 2 at a time. He uploads 2 at a time to the website. So everything we do it twice in a row. This saves us time. But this doesn't reduce the quality of the product, so it's not cutting corners. Now, if I started using ChatGPT, believe me, I won't. But if I started using ChatGPT to write the second half of every lesson, that would be cutting corners. It would save me time, sure, but that time savings would come at the expense of quality. It would be a lower quality result because I used ChatGPT to write the lesson. That would be cutting corners. Turkey suffered a devastating earthquake in February. You heard about it in lesson 554. The earthquake was bad enough, but what made it worse was the fact that a lot of buildings were not built according to the latest safety standards. Contractors would submit plans for new buildings, they would get approved, and then they would cut corners. They would build with lower quality materials, or they would put less reinforcement into the building. This saved them money, but it came at the expense of quality. And in the case of Turkey, it came at the expense of many lives too. It's not easy to build a car. It wouldn't be easy to build a car with an unlimited budget. But car makers don't have an unlimited budget. They have to make a car for $20,000 or $25,000 or whatever the number is. They have to make a car that consumers can afford. So if they have a budget, they have to decide where to put time, effort, and money. That's why sometimes cars that drive really well have materials on the inside that feel cheap. If you've been listening for a while, you know I loved my Mazda 3. I loved the way it drove. I loved the way it felt on the road. The interior was good, but not amazing. If you looked at the interior, you were never going to say, wow. Mazda put its budget toward mechanics, and I was perfectly happy with that. Other times, you might be in a car with a luxurious interior, but you can hear a lot of road noise as you drive. The car maker put its budget into the interior and not soundproofing, and so on. Hyundai and Kia are economy brands. They sell for a relatively low price, so they have to make hard choices about where to put their budget. And they often have nicer interiors, leading to sacrifices in other parts of the car. Fine. But you don't expect a car maker to cut corners with safety features like anti-theft technology. But that's exactly what they did. For many years, they simply didn't include an engine immobilizer, a basic safety feature to prevent car theft. They saved money by not including this part, and that came at the expense of quality. That's why we say that Hyundai and Kia cut corners with the design of these models. I think you probably see people cut corners in restaurant kitchens. There are strict safety rules about surfaces, temperatures, hair nets, things like that. I think if you take a peek into a typical restaurant kitchen, you might see people cutting corners when there aren't any inspectors nearby. Safety, law enforcement, and medicine. 3 areas you don't want people cutting corners. If police are gathering evidence, they have a specific procedure to follow. If they cut corners, if they don't follow the procedure because they want to save time, then it's possible the evidence can't be used in court. An American doctor was accused of cutting corners. He was using unapproved, cheaper versions of Botox in his treatments and billing for the real thing. Tina Turner died last month. She had an incredible life. She was raised in a family that she describes as comfortable in a rural farming community. Ike Turner, a blues singer, discovered her voice and eventually married her. They sang as a duo. But Ike Turner was an abusive husband. Tina Turner divorced him and then launched her own solo career. She became one of the biggest pop music stars of the 1980s. Janet Jackson called her an elegant powerhouse. Here's a quote from Tina Turner. I never said, well, I don't have this and I don't have that. I said, I don't have this yet, but I'm going to get it. Tina Turner died in Switzerland at age 83. And that's all for today's Plain English. I want to say a special congratulations to the many hundreds. And this number, frankly, surprised and delighted me. Many hundreds of listeners who participated in the Plain English ChatGPT challenge. The main activities were last week, but we're still wrapping things up as a group, and I had so much fun interacting with all of you and learning from you as well. The WhatsApp group was lively too. I was a little nervous creating a WhatsApp group. I didn't really know what to expect, but all of you in the challenge made it such a fun experience, so thank you for that. Now, if you missed it, but if you're still curious about ChatGPT, that's okay. Still go to plainenglish.com/GPT, leave your name there. We will definitely come back with something for the future. We had too much fun to just end things here. So if you missed the ChatGPT challenge this month, you can still visit plainenglish.com/GPT to see what we have coming up for you in the future. Remember, on Thursday, we're continuing today's topic, the fallout from all those car thefts. See you then.